are so excited to be here with you this evening. This is our Morehouse Tiger Talks. This particular session is about investing in your future, the financial aid at Morehouse College. So we have a lot of exciting information to share with you. We'll first start with some introductions. My name is Paula Ressley. I'll be your moderator this evening. I am the Chief Brand Officer and Vice President of Strategic Marketing, Communications, and Admissions. I've been here at Morehouse for about 3.5 years, and it's been a real joy. I appreciate everyone being here this evening. I'm now going to turn it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves. We'll start with Mr. Gum.
Thank you, Paula. Michael Gum, Director of Admissions, class of 2010 from the college. So yes, I am a proud Morehouse man. In terms also, some cool facts. I have a twin brother that graduated Morehouse with me in that amazing decade class known in 2010. Pleasure to see you all. Can't wait to talk to you all about this. And I'll turn it over to Rhonda Elmore.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Rhonda Elmore. I'm the Director of Donor Relations, Scholarships, and Endowment Administration. I work in the Office of Institutional Advancement, and this will be year number 5 for me here at Morehouse. So excited to be here tonight.
Excellent. Thank you both. So appreciate you being here with us this evening. First, we'll just start off by telling you a little bit about Morehouse. So Morehouse, for over 158 years, has prepared young men to change the world through leadership and service, driven by innovation, technology, global cultural dexterity, and a liberal arts foundation of knowledge and pillars of the community. We are a community with a mission. Our mission is to develop men with disciplined minds who will lead lives of leadership and service. And we are the only historically Black private liberal arts college for men. So we are extremely unique. And if you're looking for a community like this, we are your one and only place to be. 3 things that we're going to cover tonight are very important as you are looking to take your journey to college. First is the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, Academic Works, which is our scholarship portal, and then we will also touch on external scholarships as well. So before we jump in, I do want to just let you know, we obviously will have a Q&A session at the end. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to just submit them under the Q&A tab in the Zoom, and the presenters will answer them at the end of the presentation. All right, we're going to get started. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gum to talk to us about what is financial aid.
Awesome. And greetings to everybody. So first topic, what is financial aid? Well, I'm so happy you asked because financial aid, it is the money that helps students pay for college or other educational expenses. It could come from the federal government, state government, colleges, universities, private organizations, and more. It is so critical that you do apply for financial aid by accessing the free application for federal student aid. Now, in this whole presentation, as I am not the director of financial aid, you'll hear more about that person in just a minute. I will focus on what is the big overall scope of financial aid, and then what are the specifics to help you aid in the cost of attendance. So when we talk about grants is going to be your number one opportunity. It is a form of financial aid that does not need to be repaid unless you withdraw from school or don't complete a service obligation. Your biggest focus, and you'll hear this over and over and over, is scholarships. It is a form of financial aid offered by nonprofit and private organizations. I want you all, as you take notes, just write down scholarships, because we're going to talk a lot about scholarships as Rhonda Elmore comes on in a few. And obviously there are loans, which is money that needs to be paid back, usually after graduation. For some, there's the opportunity of work study as well, where you can basically be a paid student worker for the college. So let's get into it. 2026, 2027 FAFSA. So when does the 26-27 FAFSA become available? So after you asked, the need to forecast your 26-27 eligibility starts with first going to the federal student aid website. and identifying your estimator. So you see the link there. It provides an estimate of how much federal student aid the student may be able to receive and what they're eligible for. These estimates are based on what they consider the student aid index. In the past, it used to be called the expected family contribution. Now we call it the SAI, and it's an index to determine how much federal student aid you're eligible for. So what we want to do is to help you prepare for your 25-26 FAFSA form. So first, again, you go to studentaid.gov, FSAID, and you're going to create your own free, and I'll say again, free account. Then you're going to learn about the documents you may need to fill out the FAFSA form. Determine your dependency status and whether your parents or spouse will be required to contribute information on your FAFSA form. If you're a dependent student, use the Who's My FAFSA Parent wizard to identify which parents will be required to be an asset to your or contributor to your form. So again, here are the changes, and this is family. This is what I need you to write down. Students, this is what I need you to write down. Counselors, this is what you need to write down. So first, beginning with the 26-27 year, the new OBBA updates the Student Aid Index SAI asset calculation to exclude from the following from current net worth of businesses and farms and should not be reported as assets on the FAFSA form. The net worth of family-owned businesses with 100 or fewer full-time or full-time equivalent employees. The net worth of a farm on which the family resides, and the net worth of commercial fishing business and related expenses owned and controlled by a family. So again, these are ones you do not want to access, okay? And these are all depicted upon your SAI. So the 26-27 Pell Grant eligibility changes. The OBBA made the following changes to the Pell Grant eligibility criteria, beginning with the 2026-2027 award year. The foreign earned income exclusion amount reported on the FAFSA form will be added to the adjusted gross income, also known as the AGI, when determining Pell Grant eligibility. An applicant with an SAI equal to or greater than twice the maximum Pell Grant award amount for the award year are ineligible for a Pell Grant. For the 26-27 award year, this threshold is $14,790. Note this limit does not apply to students who qualify for a Pell Grant under the special rule. Dependents of certain deceased service members and public safety officers. These Pell Grant eligibility changes will be implemented with the official launch of the 26-27 FAFSA form by October 1st, 2025. Okay, so the new federal loan limits as of 26-27 year, right, are the changes as such. The new federal loan limits have been introduced, including annual and lifetime caps for graduate medical and Parent Plus loans. Okay, I've submitted my FAFSA. What's next? Transmission window. Generally, it could be a 3 to 5 business days for Morehouse College to receive your final financial aid application. The Department of Ed verification. If you are selected for verification by the Department of Education, it is imperative that you submit your verification documents as soon as possible so that we can continue process your financial aid award. Inceptia document submission. You will be able to submit your documents virtually through Inceptia. So this is again, if you have verification, and you're selected for verification, this is your criteria. This is your requirement. So these are now going to get into the type of loan options. So first, student loans, unlike grants, scholarships, and work study, are borrowed money that must be repaid with interest. There are subsidized loans, which are based on need, unsubsidized loans that are non-need based, parent plus loans. And this is a big part of the change here. Parent plus loans for undergraduate students, a loan offered to parents for dependent students. And then, of course, private loans, which are a private loan for education through a private lender. Students and parents contact their bank or credit union to be able to achieve and at least apply for private loans. So, what is a parent plus loan? Direct plus loans for parents are unsubsidized loans made to parents of dependent undergraduate students. If a student's parent cannot get a parent plus loan, the student may be eligible to receive additional unsubsidized loans. But really, I want you guys to highlight that word may, right? Students, and this is the key, how to apply. Students' biological or adoptive parents should apply for a Parent Plus loan at studentaid.gov. Credit decision is based on non-adverse credit history. If approved, the parent should complete a parent master promissory note, and if required, entrance counseling. All forms are electronically forwarded to the college listed on the Plus application. And this note is very important. We will not have another financial aid session. I'm sorry, we will have another financial aid session in December where the financial aid team will discuss the federal government changes to the Parent Plus loans and the impacts. So we're going to have another session where you're going to get a chance to speak directly to the director of financial aid, who will come on a platform similar to this and be able to give you the nuts and bolts. So I know you have some distinct questions. Hold those, but be prepared to talk about those. Satisfactory academic progress, SAP. Satisfactory academic progress. The Federal Department of Education mandates that students maintain a minimum level of academic performance to remain eligible for federal aid. All financial aid recipients are evaluated at the end of every semester and must meet the requirements below. First, GPA. You have to maintain a cumulative GPA range of a 1.8 to a 2.0 depending on the year in college. So what that says is that every time you're assessed between terms and within a given year, we want to make sure we're able to track, did you meet satisfactory academic progress, meaning that you maintain at least a 2.0 or higher GPA. That also goes with the next line of PACE, which gives us the idea of what is your completion rate. And so through a formula, the GPA and your completion rate has a lot to do with you meeting SAP or meeting the government's expectation to be eligible for federal student aid. The maximum time frame, again, undergraduates have a maximum total of 180 attempted credit hours to earn a degree and 150% of the program of study. So know the requirements to maintain your GPA, to maintain PACE, and more importantly, this is the one reason, or this becomes one of the major reasons to also help you sustain the scholarships that you'll be receiving from our department. All right. At this time, I'm going to turn over to my colleague, Miss Rhonda Elmore. Rhonda, take it away.
Well, hello again. So I'm here to talk to you about Academic Works, which is our online scholarship management system. So what is Academic Works? As I just suggested, it is an online scholarship management system. It's fully cloud-based. It collects, and awards scholarships. So basically what this means in a nutshell, it's a web-based scholarship management system that handles the full process from application submission to awarding students. So we can do everything through Academic Works. You don't have to download any other software. It is online based. Also, it helps us facilitate the renewal process. So when students have scholarships that are renewable, they'll get an email in March asking them to upload their community service hours to Academic Works. And then once I have that information, there is a deadline of March 31st for that. I will go through all of the renewal scholarships and make sure everyone has a 3.0 GPA. They took 30 credit hours for the year and that they completed their community service hours. So some general information about Academic Works. Like I said, it can be accessed through the Morehouse portal, or it's web-based, and there's a link right there for the website. Students do have to be admitted to Morehouse and have login credentials to access Academic Works. So you have to be admitted and you have to have the credentials and pay your security or enrollment deposit as well. We do have over 160 scholarships that we gave out in 24-25, which included about 617 scholarship recipients. This year, I believe that number increased to over 700 scholarship recipients because we had some more scholarships that were available to award. For next year, the portal will open on December 1st, and it will close on April 20th, 2026. Also, students submit one general application. So they're not submitting multiple applications for different scholarships and responding. It's one general application, which includes an essay. And then students are auto-matched to scholarships based on their responses to the questions and information that is imported from Banner. Majority of our scholarships are need-based, meaning those students who are Pell eligible, based on that SAI student aid index that Michael referred to earlier. I believe it was 14,000 and some change, but that makes a student need-based and they'll be eligible for the scholarships here at Morehouse. We do have a few that are merit-based, but majority of our scholarships are need-based at this moment. All students have to submit a FAFSA to be considered for scholarships. You can complete the FAFSA after, but we have to have FAFSA on file before financial aid can actually award the scholarship to the student account. As I stated, some scholarships are renewable, some are not. I will let students know which scholarships are renewable. I do meet with all student scholars between September and November. And I go over expectations. I go over, if your scholarship is renewable, what are the steps to keep your scholarship? So those students will know which scholarships are renewable and which ones are not. To retain the scholarships, like I said, students must have a 3.0 GPA or higher. They have to complete 30 credit hours each academic year. So if they have transfer hours, I do not count those. I look at the hours that they're taking at Morehouse for that semester or for that year. They can do 15 and 15. They can do 12 and 18. If they're short, they have 28 hours, 29 hours. I'll look at that on a case-by-case basis or encourage them to go to summer school. And like I said, they do have to upload their community service hours to Academic Works for that scholarship to be renewable. We also recruit faculty and staff to help us with the review process when we're reviewing these applications for continuing and new students. And that process starts in February, end of February, beginning of March of every year for the 26-27 academic year. And I pretty much talked about where Academic Works is located. It's on the Morehouse portal, and they can click on Academic Works, one of the applications, or it's web-based, morehouse.academicworks.com. So those are two ways to access it. Benefits of Academic Works. Students are automatically matched to scholarships, as I stated previously. They just submit one general application, and it's based on their answers. Students who have submitted the application, they will see that when they log into Academic Works, it'll show that their status is submitted. They can go back in, they have until April, like I said, to update, edit and make changes to their essay if that's what they want to do. And students who've been awarded, they will automatically get an email notification saying, hey, you've been awarded this scholarship. And so they don't have to do anything else. It sends a communication out automatically. Also with academic works, the students, don't have to spend a lot of time searching for different scholarships because like I said, it's just that one general app and then they just submit responses to those questions. So as far as institutional scholarships here, to be eligible, like I said, students have to be admitted to Morehouse, pay their enrollment deposit, and as long as they meet the criteria that the donor has given to my colleagues in institutional advancement, they should be matched to a scholarship. I already talked about completing the FAFSA, and also if students are referred to selected for verification, they would upload that document or that information to Kia, and it's a third party that handles all the verification documentation for Morehouse College. Also, they have to maintain a certain GPA. Some scholarships are 3.0 or higher. I have a few that are 2.5, 2.75, 2.8, but most scholarships are 2.5 or higher. Majority are 3.0 or higher. All scholarship students have to submit community service hours. So I base it on the dollar amount of their scholarship. So anyone who receives, we'll just say $10,000 or less in scholarship money, they'll do 10 hours of community service each year. And then the other ones, if they're a full ride, so they get $50,000 in scholarship money, they will have to complete 50 hours of community service for the whole year. And all community service hours are completed here in the Atlanta area, and it's through another application we have on the portal called the Servant Leader app. Students can go in, view different opportunities to complete community service with different organizations in town, and then once they register for that organization, once they go and complete the service hours, the representative at the organization will say, yes, this student was here for this many hours, and it's automatically in the system. So they don't have to ask for letters or anything like that. Also, Morehouse offers general scholarships that are open to students, and then restricted scholarships for those with a specific major, for a specific geographical location or field of study. And then here we'll just go over some examples of some scholarships that we have here at Morehouse College. So we have the Dr. Michael L. Lomax Student Success Scholars Program. This brings in 20 new freshmen every year. Currently, we have 82 scholars, and we'll have a group that will graduate this year. This will be our third cohort to graduate with the Michael L. Lomax Student Success Full Ride Scholarship. We also have the Oprah Winfrey Scholarship Program, which has about 56 current scholars. And this is handled by Dr. Jan Adams, who has her own process that she'll send out an email to students, I believe in March or so. Those who meet the criteria, I think you have to be need-based for this scholarship. She will send out an email to those students who qualify, give them a timeline to submit the application, and she will select the students for that scholarship, which does include first-time freshmen coming in the door. Morgan Stanley Scholars Program is a full ride. We currently have 15 scholars, so I believe that's right, 20, I apologize. That is inaccurate. So we brought in a group of 5 this past year. We're waiting to see if we'll have money to bring in an additional 5 students for next year. Yardy Scholarship currently has 7 scholars, and they bring in about 2 students a year, and this is a $30,000 scholarship. And then Coca-Cola First Generation, we currently have 9 scholars. This is the last year for this program. We can reapply after a year. So basically for 28, 29, we should have funding for the Coca-Cola First Generation Scholarship Program. And that is a $25,000 scholarship as well. And I believe this is just contact information for each of our offices Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. They're on the first floor at Gloucester Hall, and their email is here. And they're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. I work in the Office of Institutional Advancement, and that is my phone number. And I'm in the office Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. And then the Office of Admissions contact information as well. And thank you. That is all for my presentation. And I'll turn it back over to Paula.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think we have one more slide. I don't know if Mr. Gum, do you want to speak to this?
Absolutely. So what this is an opportunity. Our virtual info session is going to be our Saturday showcase. And what we want to do is invite you all for an opportunity to kind of engage with us, basically to learn the campus, to learn the college, to see the stakeholders like Rhonda and others, and to sort of build a virtual relationship, right? So we can cultivate and answer questions and be able to showcase Morehouse to you. And so on December the 13th, from the hours of 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We'll be on a Zoom platform, kind of conversational call to be able to answer questions, be able to talk to you about the amazingness of Morehouse College. Just in case you might have missed our open house, we want to be able to open the doors of Morehouse to you in this way. Thank you, Paula.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move into Q&A. I see a lot of questions coming through, so we appreciate that you are taking some time and putting those into the Q&A tab. I'm going to address a few of them, and then I'm going to turn it over and throw a few of them over to Ms. Elmore and Mr. Gum as well. First, we had a question. I think Mr. Gum had referenced Inceptia, and people were curious what that is. So Morehouse College has partnered with Inceptia to review and process verifications. Students who are selected will begin receiving notifications from Inceptia to create an account, begin reviewing and electronically submitting all the required documents. After your account has been created, you'll begin receiving periodic calls, emails, and texts reminding you to complete all the requirements before your file can be reviewed. So that's a little bit of information on Inceptia. There was a question around what's the max amount of aid grants a student can get with their acceptance letter. Since it's acceptance letter, I'm gonna turn that over to you, Mr. Gum, and how you want to answer that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And Paul, I know you know just like I do, and I think Rhonda knows too. But what we'll say, right, is that upon the acceptance, you have up to $15,000 of what we call the Morehouse College Academic Award. That's just merit based that we are able to distribute and disperse based on your academic performance, right? That is your application. Were you a well-rounded student? Did you stand out in terms of extracurricular activities? How did you fit like the pool within that application round, right? Whether you applied early decision, early action, or regular, how did you fit in that pool? And then what kind of buckets of dollars do we have to be able to support you? So we will start there, right? But then to what is amazing, which actually is another question in there. So I'll wait till we get to that, of the question of is it stackable? There's an opportunity to be able to see how scholarships are able to be stackable, but there's sort of a criteria, right? There's a way it works. So I know Rhonda will begin to tell you a little bit more about that aspect of it. But overall, yes, you'll come in. If you have merit-based scholarship, you'll be able to get some merit-based scholarship. From there, we're able then, beautiful academic works opens up, and then you're actually requested at that point to apply for scholarships in that way. And those what we call the funded scholarships.
Great. Thank you very much. How much is the enrollment deposit? That is $600. And that is required if you're planning to commit to Morehouse. So it is a $600 enrollment deposit fee, non-refundable. So do keep that in mind. A couple questions for you, Rhonda. Will students have access to the scholarship application questions before academic works opens?
No. So like I said, it does not open until December 1st. All students will have, well, when I say all of our continuing students will definitely have access. Once I believe admission sends out those notifications after December 5th, Michael,
Right.
and they get the login credentials, then they can log into academic works and submit the essay questions and answer the other general application questions.
Okay. Yeah. And those dates, correct me if I'm wrong, Gum, but we ED for one, that application has closed. So early decision is closed. Those notifications are going to go out when?
Yep, December 5th.
December 5th. And then early action is still open. So those applications can still come in. That closes on December 15th.
That's correct.
And they get notified when?
They get notified January 30th.
Okay. And then regular decision, which we do not encourage people to apply regular decision if you're serious about Morehouse, because we have far too many people applying ED and EA that want to be here. But regular decision application closes February 1st.
That's right.
And
That's
they're
right.
notified when?
March 15th.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Another question for you, Rhonda. Since Academic Works primarily lists scholarships for Pell eligible students, is there a portal of scholarships for those students who are not Pell eligible?
So we have a few that are merit-based. So there's not a lot, but they are in that as well too. So when we look at the applications, we consider students for those who you match to scholarships. So when I go into each scholarship, it will say, okay, a student who's, they'll see maybe they match to 5 or 6 scholarships, or they may match to 20 or 30 because they're Pell eligible versus merit-based. But they can't see what scholarships they match to. It doesn't mean you're going to get the scholarship. It just means you match to the scholarship. A review team will look over every single application students submit by the April 20th deadline, and then we'll make decisions from there as a committee who gets what scholarship.
Okay. And then another specific scholarship question for you, Rhonda, is the Bonner Scholars Program that's offered here at Morehouse. What are the requirements?
I do not oversee that scholarship. That is through Dean Kevin Chapman and the Office of Bonner. Yes. So
Okay.
that's one scholarship I do not oversee.
I could add a little bit of context
And so,
because we talk about it a lot.
yeah.
Honors is community based, and again, Rhonda's absolutely right. We do not control that scholarship, but what they tend to do is to look at a certain number of community service hours based upon what a student has done in high school, and they look for that continuation to look at extracurricular activities and so forth. Now, what I can say is that there's a limited number of freshmen that do receive that scholarship, and the window is very, very short. I don't know the direct criteria of the deadlines, but what I do ask is that you, and I know our team will do this, is that in the chat, they're going to put in our Bonus Community Service application that is found on our website and put in the criteria for that and some of the other pieces that you all are going to want to know. Just keep in mind, don't just look at Bonners as the immediate option. A lot of scholarships Rhonda put on her slide, such as the Lomax, the Coca-Cola, Morgan Stanley. Those are the ones that you really want to try to go for. And you want to be able to just kind of open that ideal up of being able to also look at external scholarships as a major focus this year. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for elaborating on that. For you, Michael, for students that have already applied early decision, will missing dual enrollment transcripts affect admission?
Great question. No, it will not. No, it will not. We are assessing students based on your high school transcript that is submitted based on 2 letters of recommendation, one of those being a council letter recommendation, and then a letter recommendation from a coach or a mentor or that secondary letter. And then from there, right, your personal essay, right? And then the extracurricular activities that you put down on your application. That's how we're making our review. What I will say, however, is that if you want to get consideration, right, for classes that could be transferable or waived, it is important, however, that we do get that transcript. But on the front end, that transcript will not having that transcript on the front end does not prevent you from being able to get merit-based awards.
Okay, great. Kind of in the same vein, there's a question around EA. How long do students have to submit recommendation letters for EA?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, look at y'all. Okay. Look, so first, apply by the deadline. So make sure you get that done by EA's decision deadline of December 15th. From there, you really have the window, right? Prior up to notification, right? So if EA decision is December 15th and we'll notify our students on January 30th, that's really your window to complete your application, meaning not just the application itself, but completing your transcripts, letter of recommendation, and so on. Because I can tell you on January 16th, or excuse me, January 31st, your application documents requirements will actually move and roll over to regular decisions. So you really want to make sure you complete within the time frames of which is given, and to really try to adhere to that deadline as much as possible. So again, for early action, because I know a lot of us might be focused there, it's important that you apply by December 15th. That is that you submitted your application, 2 letters recommendation, your transcript, and anything else that you want to provide, but those 3 as the criteria, the requirements. And again, we'll make the decision upon that opportunity on January 30th.
Okay. So you referenced letter of recommendation. We have a question here. If I had a principal and teacher recommendation instead of a counselor recommendation, will that harm my application?
No, will not. No, will not. What we do ask that your counselor submits a letter of recommendation, but it is on the discretion of the admissions department to take on a principal letter, which we kind of designate as a designee similar to a counselor. So as long as there's something in writing that is provided as a letter, we will take that as an substitute of the counselor letter. So just make sure your application is complete, but we can let that ride.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about what people should be, how they should be having a conversation with people asking for letters of recommendation and the importance of being very cognizant of who you're applying to, as we've talked about in some of these letters of recommendations, missing the fact that you didn't change a school name or what have you. So can you talk a little bit about that, Gum, and what people should be, how they should be having that conversation and what they should be asking people to write about in their letters of recommendation?
Absolutely. So one of the major things that's very important with writing the letter of recommendation is that we're looking for a little bit of everything. So from that, what we mean by that is actually looking at the criteria. Sorry, y'all, give me 1 second. I hear some noise. So in terms of letter recommendation, what we want to do is to make sure that a student is applying with their very best. So whether that's from a coach, from a mentor, from a professor, we want them to be able to really speak to the character and the value of who you are. So who you request a letter of recommendation from should always be from somebody who could speak to you or speak the value of you very, very, very strong. If someone is not willing to support your letter of recommendation, that's okay, right? That's okay, but you really want somebody who can advocate and make you look like gold on paper. Okay.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it is so crucial because we read everything. And so, based on what is stated, kind of can give us some ideas, right? Of, how you blend, how you stand out, what are they saying about you that makes you stand out, which can take you over the tip if maybe you don't meet our GPA requirement, right? Or maybe if your ability of extracurricular activities was limited because of your socioeconomic status. We don't know, right? So you really want somebody who can really speak to your value.
Yeah, and that's such a great point because I want to just remind everyone that the admissions team reviews a holistic review of the individual applying. And this isn't just looking at a GPA and, right or left because of your GPA. There is a whole host of things that we are looking at. And that one phrase you said of what makes you stand out is so critical, is what's going to make you stand out different from the other people who are wanting to come to Morehouse as well. That's going to make us stop and pause and really take a look at this person and say, this person belongs here. This person really should be at Morehouse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a huge point, Rhonda.
I was just going to add, because Michael will share that Common App that you all submit the students. And sometimes students don't brag about themselves enough. And I'm like, he'll ask for extracurricular and they may put one line and I'm like, really? And then somewhere else, like say in academic works, they may go into detail. So tell your son, put as much information about himself, brag about himself in those Common Apps or in those essays, because that is the opportunity, because that is all we see. We don't know this student. So yeah, we're reading information. So make sure they fill it out completely.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I never really thought about it that way, is that we don't know the student. So all we're doing is reading what's on paper. So you really need to make that pop on the paper. You need to make that stand out and really tell a story about who you are that can really resonate with the person that's reading the paper. So that's a good point. Thank you for that. I have a couple questions for you, Rhonda. One is, are current students and incoming students applying to the same scholarships through Academic Works? And then I do want you to go back and touch on the stackable question, if we
Okay.
can go back to
Okay.
that.
So I'll say yes and no. So how can each scholarship, the donor gave us the recommendation for the criteria, right? So some scholarships that say 3.0 student, all class years, um, full-time student at Morehouse College. So that's for anybody. Some scholarships are specifically for freshmen, high school seniors, first-time freshmen. So we have that designation as well. Some scholarships are for juniors and seniors. So
Mm.
it just varies with the scholarship. So yes, they all are being considered for, and then some are for a specific major, a specific geographical location like South Carolina, North Carolina, or yeah, the major or the classification, their year in school.
Okay.
And then you said stackable. What was that question? I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah, does Morehouse use a stacking or non-stacking method for external scholarships?
Oh, for external. So the cost of attendance for Morehouse that is set by the Office of Financial Aid, I believe this year is what, 56,000 and some change. So a student cannot go over that amount in scholarship money. So if they have a full ride, that's $50,000. They can probably get some external scholarships as long as they don't exceed that 56, whatever that amount is that's set by financial aid. Yes, if they do meet or exceed it, if that scholarship is being sent to the school, we will return the check to the organization. The organization can have the option of sending it to the student, but I believe there's some tax laws and things like that, but that's up to that organization. So if they do exceed it, we will return the check to the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to oh, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I was going to say I could give another example of the stackable that I've seen, where a student had $15,000 MCOT, for example, right? So based on their merit, they received that. And then let's say, for instance, they receive one of the scholarships Rhonda's talking about, which is like the endowment scholarship, or
Mhm.
a donor has said, yes, based on this student's criteria, we want to support this student in this way. And Rhonda and I, based on the committee, was able to select that student because they had an application. That's the key, had an application in the system. That's 15,000, right? So now that student has 30,000, but let's say that student has an additional 5,000 external scholarships and things. We will take all that money up to the cost of attendance, to Rhonda's point. However, when you go over, so say for instance, it was 15, right? 15, let's say you got another 15 that's outside, right? They will start to reduce the institutional money and
Mhm.
be able to then take in that external money. So keep that in mind. There's a difference between institutional and external scholarships and how the college begins to package students. So I just want to kind of bring that example alive.
Yeah, and I don't know because we don't have financial aid or student accounts on here, but maybe one of you guys can elaborate on. I do want to just make sure that people understand also that if you have external scholarships from your community or your church, those funds do need to be received at the college. So we can't go on just, oh, my church is going to send me a $5,000 scholarship or a 10,000. So you do need to make sure that when you're talking with any local communities, churches, things that you are getting external dollars from, that those funds do need to be received by the college by a certain date. Anything either of you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I believe the deadline issue was it August 1st or August 2nd for before they drop students for non-payment. So yes,
Um,
those checks need to be here by that August 1st deadline. We can't, like Paula was saying, we can't go by, oh, well, they said it'll be here. If they get the scholarship, you need to also tell them it has to be received by the school by the certain date.
Yeah,
So yes.
great.
And I would just add real quick, it's very important that when you have external scholarships, that you got the mailing date correct, that you make sure you put the M number. Those are just some tidbits. And the M
Yeah.
number is the Morehouse ID number, because so many checks come in through the college. I don't want y'all to think we're super rich, but so many checks come into the college. We want to make sure you're getting the money that is coming in for you. If not, they'll send that money back. So, you want to make sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's when it comes to that.
That's a great point. I would even say, make sure you have them put your name and your M number on the check, because if you have a name we may have another student with that same name. And now we're trying to figure out what student does this go to. So your M number is your unique identifier, and it's very important to include that on really any kind of documentation or things that you're trying to get to the college. This question I think is probably going to be a very nuanced answer, Rhonda, but what's the criteria that one should meet to receive a full ride scholarship?
Wow. It's a combination of many, many things,
Yeah,
right? So we have a rubric that we use when my reviewers are going over. So we look at GPA. So we know every young man that applies to Morehouse is a great student. I don't, these moms like, my son has a 3.8. So does the other 22,000,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah. But so we even break it down by GPA. So a 4.0 to a 3.8 will get 5 points. A 3.79 to a 3.5 will get 4 points. So that's how we break it down by GPA. We also look at their extracurricular activities. Are they involved? Are they involved as an officer? Are they the president? Are they the captain of the football, basketball team? We look at all of that. Are they doing community service? We look at that as well. All of that information is asked on that common application. That's why I said your son and sons who are on here tonight, you need to be very detailed when filling out that common app. What do you do? Your community involvement, your extracurricular activities. We also look at any honors or awards that you receive, whether it's through your local YMCA, you got some National Volunteer of the Year award or Academic Achievement Award, National Honor Society. We look at all of that. So we're looking at the full student and the essay. That's important as well too. You do get we're not looking at grammar or anything like that, but the content of the essay.
Yeah. And I think that's such a great point is to remind people Morehouse is very much in demand. We have a lot of exceptional young men that want to come here. So the more you can show us how exceptional you are and uniquely exceptional, the better you will be. So I just want to, again, encourage people to do that because I think you're right, Rhonda. We hear from people all the time, but my son has a 3.8. So does every other kid that's coming here to Morehouse.
Yep.
We got a lot of 3.8s here, So I think that is really, really important to stress that. Thank you for bringing that point up. You did touch on this, but there was a question about, are there any major specific scholarships like political science, urban management, things like that?
Yes, there are. I would say a lot of them are business, a few STEM, majority business. But then we also have some for those who are, music, theater, performing arts. So, but yes, we do. It just depends on the donor and whatever, when they were here as a student at Morehouse or they're a friend of someone, if that was their major, their program, that's what they want to, when they do these scholarships is because of their interest when they were here as well too. But yes, we do. We have some for track. We have some for football. So we have, athletes as well.
Okay, great. I have a note. I just want to let everyone know. Thank you, everyone, for hanging on with us. So it looks like we have a very large group still with us, and we greatly appreciate it. And a very large number of questions. So we're going to extend this till 7:15 p.m. Please feel free to stay with us. We hope you do. We're going to continue answering questions, but I know this was scheduled till 7, but we're going to go ahead and schedule until 7:15. And then also just so you all know, a recap will come out over the next couple of days. And you can always reference this Tiger Talk webinar as well as previous Tiger Talk webinars on our YouTube channel. So if you go and look for Morehouse Tiger Talks on the YouTube, you can find lots of access there. And this one will be posted in a few days as well. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here. How does one apply for the honors program?
I can get into that. So what ends up happening is that only students that have been admitted, so they'll get through our entire admissions process, meaning you submitted your application, submitted your necessary documents, you didn't get your acceptance letter. Upon that, right, the honors program, under the direction of Lance Shipman Young, will send us an email requesting who are the top students that meet that criteria for honors. At that point, those students will then be they will be requested to do an application for the honors program. And from there, then he will make his selection based on how many spots and based on that criteria. I could tell you, a lot of our honor students, we've done an excellent job selecting some strong students. And as long as they're meeting that threshold, a lot of students find themselves being in the honors program if there are spots open. And so there's current students in the honors, and I think they set somewhere between 15 to 20 first-time freshman students to be honor students. So you just want to make sure that you submit your strongest application, to Rhonda's point, that you're bragging on yourself, because that can open the door for you becoming a Howard Thurman honor a recipient. So yeah.
Great, thank you. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna tee it up. Maybe Rhonda, I don't know, but if a student actively performs community service through an organization not listed on the servant leader site, can those hours be submitted?
If it's in Atlanta, yes. So that's why I require all the hours to be here in Atlanta through the Servant Leader app. I am one person who looks at all of these renewals, and there are, like it's over 700 scholarship students. So this was the easiest way we could do things. If students submit the hours through the Servant Leader app, and all they have to do is upload a document in March and send it to Academic Works. So yes, as long as the hours are in Atlanta, and then if it's not on the Servant Leader app. You can work with Dean Kevin Chapman to get that added to the Servant Leader app. But yes, it has to be in Atlanta because we want the students to give back to the community where they are living.
Okay. All right. Thank you. This one's going to have several answers, I think, but what month are scholarships awarded?
So we look to start that process, Michael, like mid-May is what we did this past year. So after grades come out, because our students who are current students, grades come out mid-May. So that's when we start looking at the making decisions about who receives what scholarships. Yes.
And
Okay.
I would say just to add, mid-May is absolutely correct.
Mhm.
This process, so she does an excellent job. And with the committee, is there's a review process ahead of that that leads to then being able to actually put the award on the students. When we start doing offering, though, that really starts in March. So you'll see something, but your actual award, to your point, Rhonda, you're right, won't come
Mhm.
on until May, right? Which then you'll know when the bill is due. I'll say it again, when the bill is due. So, be ready for that kind of
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we do have some awarding, I'll say after August, because there's some students we may award who don't come to Morehouse College. So we have that money that we have to
Okay.
award. I don't leave money on the table. I try and give out everything that we have. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's like stages. May, and you'll know by that payment deadline. And then we'll do it again August, September as well. Yes.
Okay. That's great. Will students applying early action and not early decision still have the same access to scholarships since early action candidates won't get their acceptance until January and will not be able to have access to the scholarship match until then?
Paula, these people are smart, man. They're really
That's
smart.
why they're applying to Morehouse.
I see. Shoot. Don't be asking us no questions like that. No, that's a great question. Um, so the question becomes, why did you apply early decision? But I will say this, right? We do understand that early action is one of our biggest buckets of opportunities, and we want to offer our students the same form of opportunity. However, right, as we start to award during early decision, those funds really start to kind of deplete as we move to early action. So with that, you're really going against in the pool some of the most top students that are also applying just like you. So you really want to stand out as much as you can. The answer to the question, if you meet a certain benchmarking criteria that's based upon the application process and the merit-based process, then yes, there is some funds that you might be able to receive 10,000, 5,000, 12,500, or 15,000 based on your merit. But again, I will say, just to be very frank, we know our early action pool will bring in about approximately 1,000 students that will then be admitted within that pool in and of itself. So you really want to kind of keep the focus, to how do I find external scholarships? Because just because you might meet a scholarship threshold, we're really looking at our top tiers within that applicant round. So apply with your very best. I'll just say that.
All right, great. Couple questions for more admissions related. What's the GPA range for the average admitted student? And do we look at resumes?
Absolutely. So the average GPA is about a 3.5, right? For overall. And then we do look at resumes. And why is a resume good? Because it tells us more, right? When we're assessing, and I can tell you our team has done an excellent job already reading. We already read over 800 applications at this time. Of that, we are looking for ways, to Rhonda's point, how are you bragging on yourself and how are you standing out? The resume gives us sort of a better list of maybe what's not on the application, maybe something that your counselor did not submit. So you can add that as an optional miscellaneous document that would allow us to be able to assess that, to also review on your behalf and be able to maybe give you some points based upon that too.
Okay. And then another applicant question is there any disadvantage to applying on the Morehouse app versus Common App?
No, not at all. There's no disadvantage, right? For us, we want to give you advantage, right? So we open free app week, or the idea of having free application month is still here. For us, again, the Morehouse app is there for those who might need that extra support, who are saying, hey, I need a fee waiver, or hey, there's some substantial, circumstances that I might not see, or just how I apply might just be a little bit different. I'm very focused or focused on Morehouse. The Common App, however, because of the fact that it's just one application for numerous schools, it allows for you to do one application. And if as long as you meet that criteria for that application, depending on which schools you list, Morehouse is going to get the same information that maybe Hampton gets or that Howard gets and so forth. So it's about you and understanding what type of application fits you. $50 Common App, $30 the Morehouse application.
Great. Thank you. Um, so this goes back to our conversation about we review students holistically beyond GPA. So although GPA is important, we know that there are, especially as a future Morehouse man, there's a lot more to what we're looking for in a Morehouse man than just a GPA. So the question is, can students with a GPA of 3.2 or below get accepted to Morehouse with a good application?
The answer to that is yes. Yes, yes, and more yes. And the reason why I say that is somebody who understands that wholeheartedly. We at Morehouse want to consider where you came from, who you are. We take a deeper lens, we take a deeper focus. And for us, it's about standing out, it's about applying with your very best. And we know that a GPA alone doesn't make you who you are, right? To Paula's point, that holistic review is very, 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 very important. And so if someone can talk about you and it shows and your whole application tells the right narrative to what Morehouse is looking for, you can definitely find yourself admissible to the college. Now, would that mean that there's automatic scholarship dollars? Pause, right? You're gonna have to probably find some money, just to be very honest, right? But if you do pretty well with extracurricular activities, that could be an opportunity for a Bonner Scholar. That could be an opportunity, for another funded scholarship because some of those scholarships, Rhonda, require you to be at least at a 3.0, right? And let's say you're from LaGrange, Georgia. You might want to look at that, right? Just a little note there. Or you're from, let's say, Dayton, Ohio, or Cincinnati, Ohio. You might want to look at that, right? So for all my Ohio people, yeah, you should be applying to Morehouse. And so know the different types of funded scholarships, but also apply with your very best.
Okay. Um, is there a way to update information I applied with? Because this student is saying they've had many changes have been made since they submitted.
Ooh, so here's the thing. The round in which you applied in, when you indicated that, let's say you applied early decision. When you applied early decision, you made a confirmation or an agreement, and you said that I want to subdue any other application early decision to say that I'm coming into Morehouse early decision. Depending on the situation, we will listen, right? We will take heed to what it is that's happening. However, we do not like to alter applications or make changes because the consistency of what you apply is very intentional. And we know that because we have a set of questions in the application, we would like for you to adhere to those. But we do understand that there might be some other circumstances. So let us know by reaching out to admissions@morehouse.edu. Send us an email and our customer care family manager can kind of triage that to get that to myself or to our executive director Des Podier so we can figure out what that situation looks like. But does need to be escalated. That also can go to our vice president of marketing, comms, and admissions, Ms. Paula Resley, who's on the call as well.
Great, thank you. There's a question about early decision. Is early decision binding? So do you want to answer that? And then also maybe just give a little bit of explanation of what is early decision versus early action versus regular decision.
Huge point. So the question of early decision, is it binding? By contract, yes. It says that if I'm applying to Morehouse, this is where I'm going. By the nature of where we are with early decision for Morehouse, we want our students to lock in with us. We want students who do want us. And by applying ED, again, you said that Morehouse is my top choice. This is where I want to be. And I'm willing to suspend any other application in the early decision round with the idea that I'll be coming into Morehouse College. That's a huge commitment. It's like a contract. It's like a marriage, right? We want you to marry with us. We do. However, we do understand that there's some financial expectations that are on the back end. So we're very lenient in terms of that binding decision that depending on what's happening or what's going on, we will kind of evaluate you and we ask and give you a little room to make your deposit by January the 15th. so that then, you have some time to talk with your family. You have some time to consider this financial, OB3 bill that is now occurring, right? And so for us, yes, we do support you, but we are very, very, very transparent about that. We want our students to be very intentional about how they apply. The difference between early decision and early action, more specific, is that early decision says that I want Morehouse. Morehouse is my top choice. And because it's my top choice, I am coming here if accepted. That's what it says. And so for us, we want you to be that way. I'm not applying anywhere else. I'm applying to y'all. I want Morehouse. And we know you've been doing it and saying it since third grade, so stop denying yourself. Just come on. Just
Yeah,
come on.
that's great. Um, I do want to just make a point so everyone understands, so you don't cause yourself any undue stress or financial output. You only have to apply to Morehouse in one app, one platform. So if you apply through Morehouse application, that's it. You don't have to apply in the Common App. If you apply in Common App, you don't have to apply in Morehouse. So just choose one. To Michael's point, there's differences in the costs, $50 on Common App, but you can apply for multiple colleges through Common App. Morehouse is $30, and it's just you're applying solely to Morehouse. So do make sure that you're only applying in one of those platforms. Um, if a student comes in with enough AP credit class that puts them close to a sophomore level, does that impact their scholarship and grants eligibility?
No, no, it doesn't. If the college assesses you based upon that, and I can tell you, that's a very difficult I wouldn't say it hasn't happened, but I would say it's very difficult because the way Morehouse evaluates courses, the AP courses or taking AP exams does not automatically guarantee a class is being waived. And so, we want to caution you to make sure that you understand that, just because you took an AP exam and you scored a 4 or a 5, it doesn't automatically guarantee that they're going to waive the class for you. However, it does support you in merit-based scholarship dollars, which is where we come in. As it relates to any penalty, there's not one. If the college does take those classes in and we again offer scholarship dollars to you, you keep those scholarship dollars and you're able to move forward as long as you sustain them and you maintain the credit threshold and the GPA threshold.
Okay. Ron, did you have anything to add to that? I saw you.
I was just reading the question, and so if you do come in as a sophomore because of those dual credits, you are going to be classified as a sophomore. So if there's a scholarship that says all class years, of course you're going to be eligible for that. If there's one specifically for sophomores, because you won't be considered for the freshman one because you're not a freshman because of your dual
Status.
credit classes. So you're classified as a sophomore coming into Morehouse.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification as well. I'm going to keep with you, Rhonda, on this question are there any scholarships or aid for military dependents? And maybe, we can have you talked on that too, but I'll have you, Rhonda, answer that first.
We do have a couple. I have some donors who have scholarships in memory of their sons who attended Morehouse. They're no longer here with us, and so they created a scholarship in their name, and they were active in the military. And I know we have an NJROTC scholarship as well. And then of course we use those parents who were in the military. You can use that GI Bill or what have you to apply for your son.
I was going to say the same thing, so that's perfect.
Okay. All right, great. Let's go back up here for we talked about the sophomore level. Is SAT, ACT taken into consideration if submitted? We are test optional, we know that, but if
Yeah.
you submit SAT, ACT, how is that considered, and why would a student submit test scores if it's optional?
Right. Great question. So first, is it considered when you apply? It is considered, but there's no weight in terms of the rubric in which we're evaluating that for.
Mhm.
Because we're test optional, we're really just assessing you based on the other criterias. Now, why is it important to apply with your test scores? Because some of those scholarships do require it. So some of those scholarships that do require it, such as we didn't talk about this one, but the stamps scholarship,
Mhm. Yep.
where Rhonda, can you go into that real quick? Just the stamps. I know you know.
Yes. So stamps does so if you do take the ACT or SAT, they do consider that one. That is a merit-based scholarship. It is a full ride scholarship. It also gives students an additional $14,000 over their 4 years to go to conferences or to, I know one student went to North Carolina this summer, just did an internship with the medical school. And so we paid for that summer tuition or whatever he paid to live there in North Carolina. They do have to go through our office for those funds. They have to submit documentation. And then we will arrange for their flights to wherever they're going, pay for the registration for that conference. But yes, Stamps is a full ride. It's an interviewing process. You apply, they're interviewed by Morehouse faculty and staff, and then they're interviewed by the Stamps faculty or members there. And then they'll let us know who they recommend for those scholarships. But yes, AC and UTL students are part of the honors program, I believe, as well, Michael. So yeah, that's a very good scholarship to have.
It's a
Yes.
big deal. And the only thing I'll add is that what's cool is they went from, I think, offering 5 to offering 7 this year.
7, yes. So it's supposed to be 5 a year, and I believe we have 8. So they're going to make up for the additional 2 that we did not. And those students didn't come to Morehouse for whatever reason. So we have 2 additional slots open this year. So we'll select 7 students,
You
7
might
incoming freshmen. Yes.
Great. That is great.
participants right here, and 7 of y'all gonna do it. We can
Yeah. There's a question about, and we have about 4 minutes, so we're going to take just a couple more questions and then we'll have to call it a night. But we are very grateful again for everyone who's been hanging on with us. This is a wonderful conversation, hopefully helpful, because I know that this is critically important when you're making your decision on where you're going to go to college and how you're going to pay for college. And this is very informative. If I submitted my application, can I add an additional recommendation?
You can, absolutely. So one of the things that's really important is that we want you to submit any miscellaneous document you desire to, anything that's going to help your case. We know
Mhm.
counselors get overloaded, and sometimes, just to be very honest, they don't get a chance to really truly characterize and depict the value of what you bring. So adding an additional letter from somebody who can talk about your qualities as a coach, right? Or as a student, from coach to student, or having somebody who could talk about that amazing study abroad trip that you took. That kind of stuff allows for us to be able to give you points to be able to support your application. So yes, additional letter recommendation, please submit that. Absolutely.
Okay, great. And then we have one last question that I think is really more for student accounts, but maybe one of you has a way you can maybe answer this, is what payment plans can parents work out with the college?
Whew. So Prada, what you want to do? You want to try to get close
We can tag team. We can tag team.
a little bit.
So I know payments are due in August, right? So they give you enough notice. I believe the bills start coming out in June. So
Mhm.
we have June and July, they'll send reminders. Students can access their Tiger Pay. Parents can set up payment plans at that time. I believe all money must be in though by August, and 60% deposit is what is required for the first payment. And then I believe it's monthly broken up into whenever they sign up. Yeah, it's broken down. But you can add more information about that, Michael.
I know too, right? The 60%. And
Mhm.
the thing about the college is that once you all get your bill, right, you kind of have an idea of what it is you're going to pay, which typically comes out like May 2nd. At least last year was May 2nd. You'll be able to know what's due. So it's going to be very important at that point. You'll hear from Michelle Burwell and that amazing Office of Student Accounts
Mhm.
talk to you, and we bring them to Admitted Student Weekend. So you're going to get all the deadlines, and it's going to be reiterated at least 10 times that you need to make your payment by a certain deadline and certain date. So as much as Ron and I can hit it, then no one does it true justice like Michelle Burwell. So
Mhm.
to our Admitted Student Weekend, that's going to be the time to do it, and we trust that all 70 plus of you all will get admitted if you're a student. That you'll be able to come and get supported and be able to have some connections with that. So yeah, come and get the substantial information. But to Rhonda's point, as a ballpark, absolutely 60%, and then from there you're able to get into that tuition plan. And then they do, right, look at monthly payments and that you're paying the college directly. I think there's also a way you can put somebody else on there that is making your payments for you. So just be prepared for that because the FERPA, which we didn't talk about, we'll get into that later, is going to be a very important factor in your application, which says that you have to give access, if you're a student, that you give access to your parents to be able to access your information, or the college will not, again, not communicate with you.
Yeah.
That's for
I-
those students who are, I believe, 18 and over.
That's
So
right.
under 18,
That's right.
we have to communicate with the parents because they're not considered adults. But anyone 18 and over who comes to Morehouse, you're an adult. So we talk to the student and they have to give you the parent. Basically, they have to sign a form saying that we can talk to you as well about their accounts, their grades, or whatever.
Okay, that's great. Well, we are at time. So first, thank you to my colleagues, Mr. Michael Gum and Ms. Rhonda Elmore. We are so grateful for your expertise and your wonderful knowledge to share with our students and families. We look forward to all of you on the call applying to Morehouse, hopefully being admitted and coming and joining us here at our wonderful institution. But thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll speak with you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.